Real quick before I get into this one, I want to complain about something that happened with this channel and with YouTube very recently. I'm going to go through it quickly so as not to hurt audience retention too much, but I really have to get this shit off of my chest. So, I recently received a community guideline strike because of a video I made 2 years ago about, I'm going to whisper it so I don't get another fucking strike, cocaine in the NBA. And it was about the drug problem the NBA had in the 70s and 80s. And then I got a community strike for it, which meant that I had violated YouTube's rules. The reasoning that they gave me was that I, A, depicted someone doing drugs, or B, had instructions in that video on how to do drugs. Both of which are not true at all. No footage of anyone doing drugs in that video, and sure as hell isn't any instructions, because I don't know how to do drugs because I am not cool enough to do them. And to get that strike really annoyed me, so I tried to appeal the strike, and I sent in like what I just told you, like neither of the things you're accusing me of are in this video. And within 2 minutes of sending that appeal, it got denied. And being that the video is like 8 minutes and you'd have to watch the video to figure out if that was true or not, the fact that it was immediately denied means that no one fucking watched the video, and the video got deleted, which was one of my favorite videos on this channel, and I get my warning strike no longer there, which it's not actually affecting my channel because it is just a warning the first time. But if I was going to have a strike in the future, I would have liked to have that warning for something that was actually against the community guidelines. I'm going to send Riddy some screenshots for this, hopefully, unless I forgot. So just to put some context to that, but that's annoying as shit. I'm probably going to post this clip on Twitter as well. But with that out of the way, today we are talking about the All-Star Game. Speaking of corporations that only care about money and nothing else, the NBA. Also, real quick before this video starts, I just shot a video on Derrick Rose being traded to the Knicks, and it should be up by the time this video is out, so go watch that if you have not already, and go subscribe to that second channel if you have not already. The NBA announced officially that they were having an All-Star Game this year, which was kind of up in the air despite the All-Star voting, and some NBA players were none too pleased about this. LeBron said, "I have zero energy and zero excitement when talking about the game," and with there being some sort of agreement between the NBA Players Association and the NBA to open this year that there likely would not be an All-Star Game, it seemed like a slap in the face, as he also said, because it didn't seem like the All-Star Game was really going to happen this year, and for LeBron specifically, this was helpful for him because his team had only gotten like a 2-month break in between the finals and the next season. De'Aaron Fox said, "I'm going to be brutally honest, I think it's stupid." Giannis said, "Don't care about the All-Star Game." Harden said, "I know what the reasoning is for, but I feel like, especially with a condensed schedule, it feels like everything was forced upon players. It's already draining to be playing a lot of games in a week. I feel like this was a week for us to kind of relax, be with our families, and kind of take a step back from basketball." Kawhi said having the game happen was putting money over health, which is kind of a big claim. So the general perception from some of the league's top players seems to be that this is a bad idea. Granted, it is not all negative from NBA players. For example, Chris Paul, who is the president of the NBA Players Association, is pro the All-Star Game. Also, Zach LaVine was pro All-Star Game. I believe there is someone else whose name I'm forgetting, but it's not universally NBA players are against it, but there is a lot of controversy about it for sure. So let's talk about the All-Star Game in 2021, what it might look like, and whether or not the NBA should actually have one. Real quick before I get into this topic, there's about a 50% chance that if you are watching this video, you are not subscribed. So if you've been watching videos on this channel, then subscribe so you can see more videos from this channel as well as fuel my ego. Also drop a like on this video, it only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference. Now let's start this video on the positive end of the spectrum and talk about the pros of having the All-Star Game. So the obvious stuff from a fan's perspective is that the All-Star Game is fun. Now the degree of fun that it is varies heavily from from year to year, but I'd say in general, it's still a positive experience. Like, as much as I bitch about All-Star Weekend and as much as NBA fans generally bitch about All-Star Weekend, I watch it every time. So they got me. And I would like to see the events happen, especially as a Bulls fan. I'm very vested in Zach LaVine having his first All-Star appearance. But also, of course, the All-Star game is good for league revenue and league attention, which are kind of correlated. I mean, Kawhi said that this was putting money over health, and that's kind of true, but there is money there. So if you're a greedy corporation, then you're going to look at this like, hey, we want that money. And the All-Star game certainly generates a good amount of money. So that's a positive for the NBA, especially with how much financial issues they have had this year specifically. Also, a kind of important thing that shouldn't be important is that All-Star appearances are kind of important legacy-wise. Like, they're far from like the end-all be-all, but it's nice for players to get All-Star appearances for sure, especially first-time All-Stars. I mentioned Zach LaVine earlier. First-time All-Star appearances are going to be meaningful to the players that actually get them, like Zach LaVine, who has a very real shot of finally making an All-Star team this year and probably should. That's definitely meaningful to them, and I definitely, if I was in their shoes, would feel like it's a bit of a robbery that they're not going to get that All-Star appearance that they were fighting for so strongly. Now, unfortunately, the list of the cons is a little bit longer and a little bit more in-depth than the pros, because for the most part, those pros have always existed with the All-Star game. It's just all the cons come with the new circumstances of the season with no fans and the virus that has, it's not good. I don't know if you knew that. So the first con right out of the gate, which cannot be avoided regardless of what side of this argument you are on, is that the NBA players, a lot of the league's top players, are not enthusiastic about this game whatsoever. And that is going to hurt the quality of the actual game. Of course, we've had All-Star games in the past where the top players were really not that all that interested. That's kind of what the All-Star game has been the past couple of years. But when you add onto it that they're even more like not happy to be there, and then you add to it that there are no fans in the arena, which completely kills the vibe of the game, that one is going to look rough. The players not caring and there not being fans in the arena to react is going to make the product kind of shitty. Like, imagine there's some crazy alley-oop play or a 35-footer or an ankle breaker, and it's met by computer-generated screaming, which it's not the same, and just the commentary and a bunch of squeaking shoes. Like, it's not going to be the same whatsoever, especially following the amazing 2020 All-Star game. Also, the need for a break this season seems bigger than most, especially for the playoff teams who didn't get that long of a break in between the playoffs and starting the regular season back up, like the Lakers that I mentioned earlier. They got like a 2-ish month break in between the finals and the regular season. And as much as douchebag old guys on Twitter are like, suck it up, have the energy, deal with it, be a man shit, like, your body gets fatigued over time and you have to give it time to rest. That's just not how the human body works. They're not wusses, they're fucking NBA players and they would destroy you. So shut the hell up. That was a side tangent, but I really can't stand people who are like that. But yeah, the body needs rest, and a lot of players were hoping that what would previously be the All-Star weekend would be just a week off where they could chill and collect their body and not have to worry about NBA basketball. And for, the non-top players in the league, it should be that, but for those who are especially carrying the brunt of the load for their teams, it's going to be a little bit rough. But most importantly, by far, as Kawhi said, putting money over health, this All-Star game has potential to be a super spreader event among the NBA's top players. And this should be cause for concern across the board. On top of the health implications this would have with the players, which the NBA likely does not care about, and the health implications of people outside of the players, which I know the NBA doesn't really care about. They can pretend to care, but All they care about is money, as pretty much every large corporation does. Outside of the actual human threat, there is a serious money threat on the line here, because as important as the All-Star Weekend could be for league revenue, what would be worse is if literally just one player had the virus, it did not get caught, and then suddenly he's playing on the court with all of the league's best players without masks, and it's spreading to all of them. That is the biggest issue, because if just one person has it and it's not caught, which we've seen happen a dozen times in this regular season thus far, it has sidelined teams for a full week, which for the most part has been fine for the league revenue because it's not the top players for the most part. But if suddenly LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Giannis, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, all of these players, I think I said Giannis already. I'm not going to name all of them. Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid. If all of these players suddenly were like, fuck, we can't play for 2 weeks, what do you think that's going to do to the league's revenue? Because suddenly the league's going to be in a situation where all of their top players are not playing for 2 weeks. And that's no small thing. That is going to cost the league, I would say, upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars just over a 2-week span because of how important those star players are to the league's brand. And I think the difference in revenue between the All-Star game and then the potential loss that would come from that potential spreader event is rather significant and should be taken into strong consideration here. If one person has the virus, the season is basically done for 2 weeks. They might continue to play games without these star level players because they'd be separated from their normal teams, but it would be rough for the league because suddenly the star players in the league would be guys who were averaging like 15 points per game previous. Like suddenly Evan Fournier is the best player in the league. Risky business having this game, and that risk is not just a human life thing, which I know the NBA just doesn't care about. It's a money thing as well. So if you haven't caught on already, my opinion is basically that this is a bad idea, even though I would like to see the All-Star Weekend, especially for Zach LaVine, for my personal Bulls fan bias. I don't want to see the league's top players all get the virus. I just fucking rhymed there completely on accident. Even looking at it from a cost benefit analysis type of thing, like this could very well go poorly for the league revenue-wise as well because of the risk of all of the league's top players at once getting the virus. That's the biggest concern to me, and I think it should be a bigger concern for the NBA than it is. They're going to do their protocol shit, but as Kevin Durant pointed out, most of that stuff is window dressing and it's not actually doing anything. But there'd have to be some seriously strict rules in order for this to actually happen the way that it needs to happen and to avoid the players getting sick themselves. And even if they did host this game with an empty arena and the players not caring, and they're not having nearly the element of caring that they did last year, this game is not going to be very good regardless. The events are probably going to be fine. Imagine a slam dunk contest with no fans in the arena. Oh my god, I just thought about that. The slam dunk contest has already been stale enough in the past as it is. So that, holy shit, the dunk contest with no fans. Wow, that's horrible. Yeah, so just don't do it. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, but it has potential to kind of be for the NBA. So don't do it. Anyways, that was my opinion on the All-Star game. Let me know what you guys think. But shout out to Rudy for editing this video. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music. Rudy, can you edit this at the front of the video? Because I completely forgot to say this. Edit that, like, towards the start, right after the rant about the community guidelines thing. But shout out to...